Hello and welcome to the Supreme Leadership Summit. I am your host, Rachel Abba. I am a supreme guide and courage mentor to highly spiritual people, highly intuitive people, and I'm in the business of supporting highly intuitive people, women in particular, to come out into the world feeling bold and feeling seen and really courageous to step out and create tangible wins, tangible successes for themselves on their terms. And the whole purpose of the summit is around three pillars: clarity, courage, and confidence. As you well know, I already shared in the video, the intro video around, this persistent pattern that I noticed about, women playing small and minimizing their accomplishments, minimizing their readiness to be able to go out into the world and do stuff and level up and grow, and almost like apologetic about their success, or thinking that, I should just be grateful. I should just be grateful for what I have. And there's this like underlying, it's not always conscious, it's an underlying message that we get, many of us get, growing up as young girls and then eventually into young women and then full grown women. And we carry this at the back of our minds as we go out into the workforce, as we go into relationship, as we go about our lives, really. And we have this undercurrent of being apologetic and being good and being grateful simply for the crumbs that we have. And this gets to change. And so here we are at a summit that I created really out of, a need for myself and also as a response to this observation that I had made in working with clients one on one and just in regular conversation, regular life with other women. So here is really a love letter to all my women out there and men, because you get to see and experience, because you have a different experience in the world. But I believe that being a whole and complete being, we have the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, and we get to integrate this. So it's always great to see things, see topics and subjects from a different perspective in order to give ourselves, inform our perspectives and inform our opinions. So with that, today's launcher, welcome. I'm so grateful to have each and every one of you here. It truly has been a journey to get here. And with those three pillars of clarity, courage, and confidence, quite literally, this putting this summit together and building this summit has been a practicum in that. So what it looked like for me was essentially launching off a cliff with no precedence, with no prior thought or experience of how to even do this. And I trusted the process and basically jumped off the cliff and started building the plane on my way down. Like that's essentially what it felt like. So in this conversation today, I'll be interviewing Elaina Martinelli, and we go deep into what her personal journey has been like and how it continues to look in terms of the fears that she faces and faced starting out, and how she's been able to transform those fears into fuel for her success. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Elaina Martinelli. Hello and welcome to the Supreme Leadership Summit series. I am your host, Rachel Abba, and I am so excited to be here and to welcome you all. This summit is all about top experts revealing their supreme or superior strategies on, all about courage, clarity, and confidence, and how to feel worthy and realize your dreams. So hopefully that sounds fantastic to you. And with me today, joining us from New Jersey, is Elaina. I love your shirt.
Hello, hello.
Elaina
Thank you.
Martinelli. Yes. So I'm going to read her bio and we'll jump right in. So Elaina is an ICF accredited coach who helps ordinary humans see and be their magical selves so they can show up fully for the lives and the world they want to create. She is passionate about reframing personal development as a tool for global transformation, which means shifting the conversation to the bigger picture and the shared reality we co-create every day. She reminds us of our power to rewrite not just our own stories, but also the collective stories that shape the world and make change possible. Welcome, Elaina.
Thank you so much for having me. And it sounds so beautiful coming out of your, like coming from your lips. I'm like, oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, she's amazing. Who's she? Yeah. You are fantastic. So thank you for joining us. And just if you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience, what brought you to this work?
Hmm. So I think like a lot of people who are called to this work, it was my own journey, right? It was kind of like the medicine that I needed.
Mm,
And then once we kind of find that medicine, we are very eager to share it with others, right? Because it's been so powerful and so potent to us. So that's kind of like the simple answer. Um, but also, there's definitely, I have a bit of a rebellious streak. I look around and I see
no.
a lot. I know. I look around and I see a lot of things, but I'm like, this is not okay. This is not okay. And I used to feel very alone in that. And
Mm,
I think COVID was a huge wake up call that I realized, oh, wait a second, I'm not alone at all, not by a long shot. And that was the final nudge, I think, that really called me in to think about, how can we start to build community around this? How can we start to connect around this? Like we don't have to go it alone, and we
you
can't.
answered the call. You answered the
Mm.
call. This is amazing. I want you to really dig a little deeper into that because just yesterday, I was interviewed on another platform, and they asked, "What is your one message, like your one learning going through, this journey of transformation?" And what I had shared was like that one big lesson was, "I am not alone, and we are stronger together." And so to sit
Oh.
here and hear you, like unplanned, and true, there is that through line. We
Hmm.
truly are interconnected. We're parts, but we're truly, yeah, part of one whole. You're not
Absolutely,
alone.
absolutely.
Go
And
on.
I think, well, and I think the pandemic, I mean, well,
Mm, mm.
and we can't even talk about it, and we can't even talk about it in the past tense, which is
No,
like,
because,
oh, yes,
yeah,
still very much here.
yeah.
But if we are to try to find, the lessons, the blessings, the gifts in that, one of them I think is that it put front and center how interconnected we are. And it really flies in the face of this narrative that's always pushed about like individualism. You have to go it alone and be tough and you have to do it all. And like we cannot, and we should not have to. We don't have to,
It's
right? So
unsustainable.
it is absolutely unsustainable. It makes no sense. It goes against our nature, our true nature, I think.
Mm,
So yes, I am all about let's build the community, let's connect, let's do it together. And that's the only way we can do it. No one person is going to have the answer.
no.
No one.
We each have a piece, I
We
believe.
each
I
have a
mean,
piece.
maybe, you might think that's naive in some circles, but I truly do believe that we each hold a piece to our collective puzzle. And everyone coming forward, which is, also ties into what we're discussing here about
Mm.
that clarity piece, which is what you got, and, sitting in the pandemic at the height of it, really brought that into focus, is what it sounds like, and then having that courage, whether it be courage or because I find, that confidence piece seems to come after. It's almost like you get the clarity, you have the courage to take that first step, not knowing, right? It's trust. really. Like when we say courage, really it's just trust, right? You
Mm-hmm.
trust that act of surrender, right? And then the confidence comes with, this is
I
it's
didn't die.
yeah, I
I'm still
didn't die.
here.
That's the because at the
Really
heart of
though.
it, that is, and you can speak to that quite eloquently about the fear piece, because that often stops us, like fear of being ostracized, fear of being judged, fear of being othered, fear of failing and looking like a complete idiot, right? And losing face, losing credibility, losing status, right? Being a pariah. Like, I mean, the list goes on. I could just
Yes.
because fear seems to be the overriding and overarching, it's almost like a um, culture within itself, this culture of fear. And we saw that and experienced that. And I'd like to hear from you through the pandemic. Fear seems to be like the frequency, the way
Mm.
to shape people's thinking. And we stop ourselves if we believe certain things about limiting our limiting beliefs about what is possible and who we are. And so can you speak to this fear piece, and in terms of like how that fits into the broader systems within
Mm.
society, right?
Mm.
Dig in.
Yes, yes, I can. Oh my goodness. Okay, so to be clear, we have 30-ish minutes, right? And we are unpacking something that I'm pretty sure could be multiple books, right? So we can't
No, I'm fully
go.
expecting you, Elaina Martinelli, to, give us the secret of youth, the meaning of life, and explain the nature of the universe. Go.
Okay, okay, I can do it. You averted a crisis in 3 minutes or less, so I can surely do this. No, this is great. So first, I wanna start with something that I think is so key, and this is not my idea. I know Brene Brown said it. The Eat, Pray, Love author, whose name is completely eluding me right now, has also said it. There is no courage without fear. It's something else, right? Because courage is about feeling the fear and doing it anyway,
Anyway,
right? Like we
yes.
can we can talk about fearlessness and about shedding fear, which is also great, beautiful, expansive, fantastic, but that's not courage. It's a different thing, right? And so
Yes.
so there is no courage without the fear, right?
Yes. That's important for
But
people
to
to hear, like, and to really take that in, because there is that idea out there that in order to be courageous, and then it's kind of muddled in with like brave and like all the other that kind of gets lumped in. But fear is normal. Like, fear is fine as long as the courage piece of you do it anyway, right?
do it
Because fear is not
anyway.
going anywhere.
It's so not. And so that's a beautiful segue into kind of the bigger question that you answered. So when we very first spoke about having this conversation, and the idea that came to me was about kind of how to cultivate courage, right? This ability to do it anyway,
Yes.
when we live in a world that really profits off of our fear. And let's call it fear with a
Mm.
capital F. You cited a lot of the different flavors. Fear has so many flavors. It
It's
has
like
so many
Baskin
flavors,
Robbins.
so many faces. Yeah, it's like Baskin Robbins, but like not delicious,
No,
right? So
not delicious.
so not delicious. Even if you dip it in sprinkles, put
Doesn't
like some
matter.
nuts on it. No, no,
No,
not
no.
tasty. So I mean, whether we're talking about scarcity, unworthiness, um, uh, feelings of lack of safety, feeling unsafe,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
So it has many, many flavors. And unfortunately, fortunately, like this is part of the human experience on planet Earth, right? Like
Yes.
our whatever else we are, and I believe we are many things. I believe we're magical. I really do. I think we're magical. I think we're limitless. I think we're beautiful, but we're also in these animal bodies that have all these like bits, these
Yes.
mechanical, chemical bits that we're going to feel fear. We're going to feel scarcity, unsafety, unworthiness, and all of that is just about our survival.
Yes.
Not about our joy, not about our thriving. No, no, no. Just like you need to stay alive and
Just
pass
hang
on
in
some
there.
genes. And not even you as an individual, right? Like us as a species. Like we just need
Yes.
to kind of get some human genes to keep going. Like that's really all the physical body nervous system part
Yeah.
is concerned with it sometimes, right? So the fear, it's inevitable. Um, but then the interesting thing, like what happens because we're these social animals as well, we now have all of these systems and structures, all of these established things that
Mhm.
lean into that natural tendency. They're like, well, you're going to get rejected by the clan. You're going to get left out in the cold.
Mhm. You're gonna
You're not going
die.
to make it. You're going to die. It all comes up. You're going to die, or you're not okay the way you are. Oh, it's
Yeah.
not safe. You better buy this thing because you're not safe.
Mm.
You better have this procedure done, or you better put this
You
whatever
don't want to
on you
stand
because
out. You don't want to
you're
stand
not
out, but
worthy.
it does. Yeah. Yeah. You're not worthy. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, we have all of these systems on top. And whenever I'm talking about systems, I'm talking about these things that become established, codified, turned into organizations, procedures, law. So, like, we could be talking about
Yes.
education, we could be talking about religion, we could be talking about capitalism, government, you name it,
Healthcare.
right? Healthcare. Oh my goodness. When I think about
She's
the
like, don't
amount.
get me started.
Oh my goodness, yes, because so I'm in the US right now, as you mentioned. I'm in New Jersey, but I live in
Yes.
Europe. And there's stark contrast between the way healthcare is approached. And it breaks my brain now that I'm back here and I'm seeing my own country, my home country with new
Yes.
eyes. The amount of fear and the things that people do out of fear of just I need to I'm worried about my health. I'm worried about having
Yeah.
coverage if I get sick. And so they stay
Yeah.
in jobs that they don't like. They stay in marriages that are toxic in the name of like, I
Yeah.
need healthcare coverage. And this is just okay.
Settling,
Sorry. That's it.
settling, and yeah, and fear, and all of this is important too, because I mean, you're pointing out something very, very. We don't have to live in the US in order to think this way, because this seems to be, almost like an overriding global culture of, where we hesitate and hold ourselves back because we're afraid of the consequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we just look for ways to make our current hell more livable, right? How do I make this
Exactly.
hell? It's like the sprinkles on the different flavors of fear. Like, how do I make
Yes.
it prettier? How do I make it, more IG worthy? How do I make it more, we're just prettying it up. It's like lipstick and
Yeah.
rouge
Yep.
on something that is, ineffective, unsustainable, and really does not speak to our joy, does not speak to our
Mm-mm.
thriving, does not speak to the magical nature that, we can have and express.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so beautifully said. Yes. So, exactly as you said. And so if we just can start to accept the fear as okay, not agreeable, right? Not the best ever, not what we would choose, but normal, a normal part of being a human, having a human experience on planet Earth. And we can start to, to kind of touch on one of the pillars of the summit, and we can start to develop some clarity about the nature of that
Mhm.
and our ability to interact with that, to be in relationship with that, because
Yes.
we do have power inside that. Like our brains and our bodies are incredibly plasticky, right? And this is
Hmm.
where my work starts to come in, right? Is starting to teach people, hey, that fear you feel, I
Hmm.
feel,
Hmm.
we all
Yes.
feel. um it's normal. It's a part of being a human. Here's kind of
Yes.
what it's trying to do. Trying, right, being
Yes.
the operative
Yes.
word. Here's what it's
Yeah.
trying to do. But
Yes.
like, let's look at what it's actually doing and start
Mm.
to let's start to pull that apart, and let's start to find your places of power inside that, because we do have a lot of power, right? So for example, starting to increase our capacity for that
Hmm.
feeling where we feel the fear, we act anyway, and it doesn't have to be big, bold, like, mass, like the equivalent of like, just put on this harness and just jump off the cliff. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be baby
Absolutely.
steps into those places, which maybe instead of fear, they feel a bit more like discomfort or
Yes, like a
disease.
stretch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Outside of your comfort zone, just dipping a toe, but it's outside of your comfort zone. And yes.
Exactly. Now, of course, what our nervous system will tell us is a very different story. And anybody who has tried to, for example, do a segue or a foray into like social media, right? And they go to do a post, and meanwhile, their body's telling them, "Don't do it.
Yeah.
Danger, danger, back away, back away."
Yes.
And it's just like, I'm literally just about to post a picture with some text underneath. Like,
Yes.
nothing is going to happen. I'm safe. And
Yes.
sometimes it's as simple as that, reminding yourself, I'm safe.
So
I'm safe.
you have that conversation with yourself, right? Where you
Mm.
actually say that and be like, okay, I hear you. Chill out. It'll be okay. We've got this,
It'll,
right?
we've got this. We've got this. And this
Yeah.
is really important, right? Because that part of us that experiences the fear, like what I said, I think we're so much more than just our bodies, just our brains, like just this like
Yes.
cr-
Yes.
this crude matter. I watched Star Wars yesterday, and that's what Yoda says. Like, we're luminous beings, not this crude matter.
I love it.
When we realize there's a part of us that's able to observe this and
Yes.
say, hey, like I love you. I love
Hmm.
you, part of me that feels that very human, normal fear, that wants to be safe, loved,
Hmm.
seen, accepted, and you deserve all of that,
And
and
comfortable.
and and
That part
comfortable.
wants to be
Yeah,
comfortable. Yes.
exactly. Like, you deserve all those things, but like, we really want this. And to get this, we're going to have to experience a bit of discomfort, but it's okay. We're
Yes.
going to be okay. So
Yes.
like, starting to kind of create that trust within ourselves. Like, one thing that I've found on my journey, and a lot of my clients as well, is that starting to cultivate that courage. It's a lot about cultivating self-trust. Like,
Mm,
even if things don't go the way I expect,
yes.
I'm gonna be okay, because I'm
Yes.
resourceful, because
Yes.
I have community, and just because I'll learn, I'll grow. It's okay, you know?
Yes. No, that's beautiful. And this is something, if anything, a great takeaway for our audience is, having that, cultivating that communication with yourself is what I'm
Mm,
hearing. And when the feelings fear up, because there's that saying of what you resist persists. So when the
mm,
feeling fears up, flares up, you acknowledge it, right? And you acknowledge that you get why it's coming up and what its job is, because it's not personal. It's like it has a job to do to keep you alive. And by hook or by crook, if I'm going to
yep.
kibosh all your plans, you're going to be alive, right? And just to say,
Mm.
I get it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. However, here's the plan for a magical like ride, right? Like, are you with me? So, and cultivating that, and over time, it almost sounds like a muscle,
It is
where you
just
build
like
it,
a
right?
muscle.
Yeah, a magical muscle.
Absolutely, like a muscle. It is, and this is not even. It's like, it's a beautiful metaphor, but it's not even metaphor, because it is like a muscle. You are kind of rewiring your nervous system, rewiring your
That's the
brain.
neuroplasticity piece you were referring to. Yes.
Absolutely. And something that we won't have time to get into it today, but I would really encourage anybody watching to do a little investigating on the side.
Yes.
And this has been one of my biggest revelations in the last year, I'd say. So I'm somebody, I've always been like very logical, very cerebral, and we are totally conditioned to be this way, right? Like, oh, it's righteous to be scientific and logical and rational, and all other forms of wisdom are lesser. And I'm rolling my eyes now, but I wholeheartedly
You
felt
were
that
not
way.
rolling your eyes before.
I was not rolling my eyes before. So it's that the body holds the key to so much wisdom, and to so much of this capacity to be able to bring ourselves into these new and scary places, right? And so, even just learning very basic what is called in the industry is like somatic work, right?
Yes.
Or nervous
Hmm.
system work, things related to mindfulness. But when I say mindfulness, I'm not talking about meditation. I'm kind of like a meditation dropout myself. I've got like a really active brain, so I need to
Yeah.
like engage. I need to do mindfulness in different
I'll
ways.
I'll get you connected with another one of our experts who I interviewed yesterday, and she's a mindologist, and she comes at meditation from a completely different angle because of that,
Love that.
exactly what you said. So yeah,
Love that. So thinking about things like, um, well, there's breath work, of course. That's
of
like one
course.
that a lot of people love, and that can be super powerful. And then there's also things that are just called like embodied practices. So just things like dropping into your body, being really present.
Mm,
There's a really fabulous one where it just takes you through your five senses, and you just are kind of like really noticing what your five senses are telling you. And that's not just fluff. Like that sends a very clear message to your nervous system. Oh, wait a second. I'm okay. Here I am in this body,
yes,
in this seat on this
yes,
planet. I'm about to do this thing, but I'm okay, right? And
yes.
so working with not just the mind, not just the thoughts, but finding a few little practices to help you work with your body as well is really going to help
That's
when it comes
beautiful.
to,
Well, I
yeah.
love practical steps. I love that stuff because these are
Mm,
things that our audience can take and plug into their daily lives. You see how it actually works in real time for you, in terms of like presencing and activating these, different parts of you to be able to
mm,
step out and say yes in spite of your knees knocking, right? Like you're able to do that
yeah.
and know that you're okay because you trust. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
So there are a couple other things that I think are really good to touch on if we're talking about like, okay, so how do I do this? How do I feel the fear and do it anyway? And to your
yes.
point, I agree with you. I think the confidence comes later,
For
like
some
after you
people, for some
for
people,
some
yeah,
people, that's true, right?
for
And
some
it's really
people.
funny, right? Because sometimes confidence is like true, just like a deep knowing and like, I got this. But sometimes it's just like, you know, blissful ignorance, right? Where
Yes,
like confidence that is not backed up, which,
yeah.
bless people who are like that, right? Um, but if we accept, right, for purposes of this conversation, that
Yes,
confidence is something that usually might come after you've kind of put yourself out there, you're like, okay, I'm okay, this is okay, I've done this before, I can do this again. But if we're just talking about, okay, well, how do we get to that place of feeling the fear and doing it anyway? So another thing that I find is really powerful, helpful, essential is connecting to purpose, right? The deeper
yes.
purpose, the deeper why, right? Because being brave just to be brave or just to prove to yourself that you can, I
Can get you killed.
maybe it, and maybe for other people that's enough, but for me
Yeah.
it's not. Like that's not how I operate. And so there are two things that I try to stay very connected to in terms of cultivating my own courage, because it's funny,
Yes.
just like I said, we can't talk about the pandemic like it's past tense. We can't talk about, like, for me personally, I can't talk about my courage, my confidence, my clarity, like those are past tense things. Those are like very much
Very much
an
in
evolving
play.
story. Progress is not linear by any stretch of the imagination, and if you are really pushing yourself, and kind of expanding what's possible for you, you're going to find yourself outside your comfort zone a lot. It's going to be like a daily occurrence. And so it's like this or like this, right? Where it's like,
Yes.
I feel great, I'm so brave, oh my
Oh
goodness, I'm
no.
terrified, I can't do this, right? So the
Yeah.
so the two kind of touch points that I keep very close to me. One is the sense of purpose, the bigger why. Why am I
Hmm.
doing this? And
Yes.
for me, it's all about just my deep belief that we can have a better world for everyone, that we can have
Yes.
more people in their joy, more people thriving. I believe that's possible, but none of us can do it alone. In fact, we have to do it together.
Yeah,
So this
because
is
yeah,
one.
yes. And
Sorry,
and
go
and
ahead.
what's the other piece?
The other piece is the community piece, right? And this is something else that when we very first kind of teed up this conversation, we talked about a little bit. But remembering you're not just being brave for you, even though it might feel that way, right? So something that I've been playing with a lot and that I think is so powerful, like personal development work has always been framed as like very individual. Not surprising, we live in this super
Self-help,
individualistic
right?
self-help, right?
Self-help.
And
Yeah.
And so it's all about, well, look, you're the problem. You're not okay. You're the problem. It's your responsibility to fix everything. So go work on yourself. Go take care of your stuff. Or it's like, I want my life to be better, my reality to be better. I want to feel better about myself. And so it's just this very, and I'm not trying to demonize that at all. We should think about ourselves. We should love ourselves. We should take care of ourselves. Absolutely. And also,
Yes.
we are not islands. We are going back to our very original point in this conversation. We are interconnected. Who
Yes.
we are, how we show up, what we bring to this world in terms of our energy, our ideas, our actions, how we move through the world, it affects everything and everybody else because we're interconnected, right?
Powerful.
And so when you think about improving, I don't even strike that word from my
Evolving.
tongue. Thank you. Like if we're
Yes.
thinking about growing, expanding, evolving, sinking into who we truly are, and we think about that, we're not just doing that selfishly, we're not just doing that for ourselves, we are doing it for everyone. And when I give myself the support and the permission and the space to be braver, more authentic, more expansive, I am creating that for other people too, right? And so remembering that we are not doing this alone, we are not doing it just for us, we are doing it for
Yes.
each other. And like, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it's easier to be brave when I'm doing it for other people. Like, if you want to think about a metaphor, right? Like, you might not run into a dangerous situation just for your own sake, but to save somebody else, you might. I think a lot
Yeah.
more of us would rise to the occasion than we might expect, right? And so
Yeah. No,
when I think
I
about
agree.
like, I'm not just doing this for me, it's not all about me. In fact, I'm just this like tiny piece. This is about how might this affect others? How might this lift up others? How might this expand all of us? That can keep you going when you're starting to feel that
Yeah.
fear.
It's like, what is it? What's that saying? A rising tide with
I
the,
don't know
what's
this
it? It's
saying.
like, oh, how does it go? I don't want to botch it. It's like the idea of a rising tide lifts all ships, right?
Ooh, I
Like
don't
a
know it
rising
either, but
tide.
yes,
Yeah, a
it's
rising
just like
tide.
that.
Yeah, lifts all ships. It's not like, okay, one boat goes up and the canoe goes down. It's like when this consciousness, right? The rising tide of consciousness, it
Mm,
uplifts all. So that was the imagery I was getting as you were speaking. And it is just encapsulated on your sweater with love, because that is
yeah.
loving. That is being loving. And
Big L love, I call
Big
it.
L
Big
love.
L.
Big L love.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
I am like, this has been like, I feel nourished. I don't know about you, but I feel totally nourished. And I so appreciate, this is the first of many conversations. I,
I
I
hope
feel this.
so.
I feel this.
I
I
hope
love it.
so.
This is a powerful message. And just reiterating, that idea of, you're not alone. There's,
Mm-mm.
the payoff, the benefit of that growth and that evolution and that discovering these new aspects of yourself as you step out of your comfort zone and really reach out to others, like this community, right? The sense of community where you're building not only for yourself, but you're being a part of, and you're going to be a contributor, right? We're talking about
Mm,
supreme leadership, and it's leading yourself with integrity and courage and clarity and confidence, right? But it gets to be easier, right? It gets to be more enjoyable and it gets to be more fulfilling when we all rise together. So I
yes,
appreciate you.
absolutely. Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for having me. I have really enjoyed the conversation and just sending so much love to
Big
anybody
L
that's
love.
watching.
Thank you.
Big
Thank
L
you.
love.
Thank you so much for joining us today at the Supreme Leadership Summit series. Until next time, remain blessed. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. And truly, as I said, it was deeply fulfilling and nourishing. I'm so thankful to Elaina Martinelli for joining us on that. I hope you also found that enlightening and beneficial. Please do hop in the chats and share your thoughts, any questions that you might have. by all means, you also know where else to reach me on social media and on our official page. So again, tomorrow, so for this entire summit, just so for those who are just joining us, it's a 21-day summit, and each day we're going to be featuring a different expert around these three pillars of clarity, courage, and confidence. So I trust and I hope that you'll be joining us. I hope to see you, and bring your thoughts, bring your questions, and bring your curiosity. Again, until next time, remain blessed. Bye for now.